The sound of my mother's voice cut through the backyard chatter like a knife. Well, maybe if you weren't so focused on your career, you'd have given me grandchildren by now. Every head at the family reunion turned toward me, and I felt my cheeks burn. I'm Kylie, and at 32, I've spent more time in fertility clinics than I care to admit. My husband Braden stood next to me, suddenly fascinated by the label on his beer bottle, avoiding eye contact like always. "Mom, please," I managed, but Krista was just getting started. "I mean, look at your cousin Sarah. 3 beautiful children, and she's younger than you." She gestured toward Sarah, who had the decency to look uncomfortable. "What are you waiting for? Your eggs aren't getting any fresher." My sister Nina stepped forward. "That's enough, Mom." "Oh, I'm just saying what everyone's thinking." Krista waved her hand dismissively, her wine sloshing dangerously close to the rim of her glass. "Even Braden must be disappointed, aren't you, dear?" Braden mumbled something noncommittal and walked away, leaving me alone in the spotlight of my mother's criticism. The potato salad I'd been picking at turned to ash in my mouth. "I need to use the bathroom," I announced to no one in particular, fleeing toward the house. As I reached the back door, I heard Lana, my mom's best friend, speaking in hushed tones. "Krista, you can't keep doing this to her, especially given, you know." "Don't you dare bring that up," my mother hissed. "That was different. We agreed never to discuss it." I froze, my hand on the doorknob. There was something in their voices that made my skin prickle. "Different?" Lana scoffed. "The only difference is you had a choice. Keep your voice down." I pushed the door open deliberately, making it creak. Both women jumped apart like guilty teenagers. My mother's face was flushed, and not just from the wine. "Oh, Kylie," she recovered quickly, plastering on her fake smile. "Darling, I was just coming to apologize. I might have had a bit too much to drink." I looked between them, noting how Lana wouldn't meet my eyes. "Save it, Mom. I'm leaving." "Don't be so sensitive," she called after me as I headed for the stairs. "I'm only trying to help." I locked myself in the upstairs bathroom, gripping the sink until my knuckles turned white. In the mirror, I barely recognized myself. This woman who let herself be diminished party after party, year after year. But something was different now. Those whispered words between my mother and Lana echoed in my head. There was a secret there, something they were desperate to keep buried. And for the first time in my life, I wanted to dig it up. Nina found me in my childhood bedroom where I'd retreated after the bathroom. She sat beside me on the small twin bed, our shoulders touching like when we were kids. "You okay?" she asked, handing me a glass of water. "I'm fine, just the usual mom show." I took a sip, trying to sound casual. "Did you notice anything weird between Mom and Lana earlier?" Nina's eyebrows lifted. "Weird how?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. An email from Lana. Strange. She never emailed me. "Oh, God!" I heard Lana's voice from downstairs. "No, no, no!" I opened the email. There was a scanned letter attached, dated 25 years ago. The first line made my heart stop. "Krista, you can't keep hiding this pregnancy." "What is it?" Nina leaned over. My phone buzzed again. A frantic message from Lana. "Delete that email immediately. Wrong recipient. Please don't read it." "Too late," I whispered, scanning the letter. "Nina, look at this." We read together, our heads bent close. The letter mentioned a private adoption, someone named Thomas, and a baby girl. My hands started shaking. "Holy shit," Nina breathed. "Is this saying what I think it's saying?" Footsteps thundered up the stairs. Lana burst into the room, face pale. "Kylie, please tell me you haven't—" She saw our expressions and stopped dead. "Who's Thomas?" I demanded. "And what baby?" "I can't. This isn't—" Lana pressed her hands to her temples. "Your mother will kill me. I think I have a right to know." I stood up, my voice stronger than I felt. "Especially after how she treats me about not having children." Lana sank into my old desk chair. "It was before she married your father. She was young, scared. So she had a baby? There's another child out there somewhere?" "Kylie?" My mother's voice called from downstairs. "Where did everyone go?" Lana jumped up. "Please, give me the phone. Let me delete it. We can pretend this never happened. I clutched my phone tighter. No, I'm done pretending. What's going on up here? My mother appeared in the doorway, still holding her wine glass. Her eyes darted between us, then fixed on my phone. Lana, what did you do? It was an accident, Lana stammered. I was trying to send you that old letter, but Mom's wine glass slipped from her hand, shattering on the hardwood floor. Red liquid spread like blood across the floor. Mom? I stepped toward her. Who's Thomas? She backed away, her face ashen. We are not having this conversation. Not now. Not ever. But as she fled down the stairs, I knew everything had changed. The perfect family facade was cracking, and through those cracks, I could finally see the truth. You're sure about this? Francesca asked, spreading old newspaper clippings across her kitchen table. My cousin's journalism skills had already proven invaluable. She'd dug up more in 2 days than I'd managed in a week. Look at this, she pointed to a yellowed society page. Your mom was engaged to a Thomas Warren in 1988. The engagement was announced in January, called off by March, then nothing until she married your dad the following year. I leaned closer. There was my mother, young and beaming, next to a handsome man I'd never seen before. 9 months, I muttered. The timeline fits. My phone buzzed. Another message from Braden. Coming home tonight? I ignored it. Here's the weird part. Francesca pulled up a database on her laptop. Thomas died in a car accident 6 months after the engagement ended. But get this, he'd changed his will just weeks before, left everything to a trust fund for... A knock at the door made us both jump. Nina stepped in, carrying a dusty box. You won't believe what I found in Dad's garage, she said, dropping it on the table. Mom's old diaries. Dad's been keeping them all these years. I pulled out a small leather-bound book. A photo slipped from between its pages. My mother, clearly pregnant, standing in front of a cabin. Holy shit, Francesca whispered. When was this taken? I flipped the photo over. Summer '88 was written in faded ink. There's more, Nina said, pulling out another diary. Listen to this entry. Thomas says we can raise her together, that his family will understand. But they won't. They never will. And neither will anyone else in this town. My hands trembled as I opened the diary. Did she say her? Keep reading, Francesca urged. The next entry made my blood run cold. Gave her up today. The adoption agency promises she'll go to a good home. Thomas doesn't know yet. By the time he finds out, it will be too late to stop it. This is the only way to save both our families from scandal. She didn't just give up a baby, I said slowly. She gave up Thomas's baby without telling him. And then he died, never knowing. There's more. Francesca turned her laptop toward me. The trust fund was set up through New Hope Adoption Agency. They closed years ago, but their records were transferred to the state archive. If we can access those, we could find her, I finished. My sister. Nina grabbed my hand. Are you sure you want to go down this road? Once we do this? Mom spent my entire life judging me, making me feel worthless because I can't have children. I stood up, gathering the diaries. All while hiding the fact that she abandoned her own daughter. I'm not just sure, I'm certain. It's time everyone knew the truth. The photo of my pregnant mother stared up at me, her secret smile now looking more like a smirk. Soon that smile would be gone for good. I found Dad in his workshop, sanding a rocking chair he'd been working on for months. The sawdust hung in the air like guilt. Dad, I held up the diary, we need to talk. The sander stopped. He stared at the book in my hand, his face draining of color. Where did you get that? Does it matter? What matters is what's inside. I opened to the marked page. You knew, didn't you? About Thomas? About the baby? He set down his tools with shaking hands. Kylie, some things are better left. Don't, my voice cracked. Don't tell me what's better left alone. Not after watching Mom torture me for years about not giving her grandchildren. Dad sank onto his workbench. Your mother? She was trying to protect everyone. Protect everyone, or protect herself? You don't understand how different things were back then. He ran his hands through his gray hair. An unmarried pregnancy would have destroyed both families. Thomas's father was running for state senate. So she gave away their baby without even telling him? Dad's silence was answer enough. And then you married her, knowing all this? I loved her, he said simply. She was scared, desperate. Thomas had just died, and she needed someone. She needed someone to help her bury her secrets, I corrected. And you've been helping her ever since. The rocking chair creaked as Dad leaned against it. Her name is Raylan. My heart stopped. What? Your sister. I kept track, made sure she was okay from a distance. She was adopted by a good family in Millbrook. Millbrook? That's less than an hour away. The room started spinning. All this time. Your mother doesn't know I stayed in touch with the adoption agency. Please, Kylie, don't. Don't what, Dad? Don't tell Mom you've been keeping tabs on the daughter she abandoned? Don't tell everyone how she's been living a lie? I pulled out my phone, showing him Francesca's research. We already found the trust fund Thomas set up. We know everything. Dad's shoulders slumped. What are you going to do? What? I'm going to find my sister. And then? I looked at the rocking chair, imagining the grandchild it was meant for. Then I'm going to make sure Mom faces every single consequence she's been running from. It will destroy her, he whispered. No, Dad. She destroyed herself the moment she decided her reputation was worth more than her child. I headed for the door, then turned back. And all those times she made me feel worthless for not having children, she was just projecting her own guilt. The workshop fell silent except for the gentle creak of the empty rocking chair, swaying in the draft like a forgotten lullaby. I found her, Francesca announced, bursting into my apartment. Raylan Martinez. She's a pediatric nurse at Millbrook General. My coffee mug slipped from my hand, shattering on the kitchen floor. You're sure? Birth date matches? Adoption records confirm it. And look, she held up her phone, showing a social media profile. She looks just like you. The woman in the photo had my mother's high cheekbones and my dark hair. My hands shook as I took the phone. She's married, 2 kids, Francesca continued. Lives in a blue house on Maple Street. Does she know? I whispered. About being adopted? According to her posts, yes. She's even active in adoption support groups. The front door opened, and Braden walked in. He stopped short at the sight of coffee and ceramic spreading across the floor. What's going on? He asked, finally looking at me properly for the first time in weeks. I found my sister, I said. His confused expression reminded me I hadn't told him anything. Mom had a baby before me, gave her up for adoption, and I found her. He set down his briefcase. Is that where you've been disappearing to every day? Maybe if you'd been home more than 3 nights this week, you'd know, I shot back. Francesca cleared her throat. I should go, but Kylie, Raylan works tomorrow, 3rd floor, pediatrics. After she left, Braden helped me clean up the coffee mess. Are you going to see her? Yes. Want me to come with you? I looked at him, really looked at him. Do you actually want to, or are you just offering because you feel guilty? He leaned against the counter. Both? I know I've been distant. Work's been crazy, but that's no excuse. I should have been there at the reunion when your mom... Stop, I held up my hand. I don't need apologies right now. I need to know if you're with me. Because when I meet Raylan, everything changes. Mom's perfect family fantasy implodes. Good, he said, surprising me. Your mom's been tormenting you about having kids for years. Maybe it's time she faced her own demons. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. Coming over for dinner tomorrow, we need to talk. No, I typed back. I'm busy. Meeting someone at Millbrook General. Her response was immediate. Don't you dare. I showed Braden the exchange. Still want to come with me? He took my hand, squeezing it like he used to when we first started dating. Let's go meet your sister. For the first time in years, I felt like we were on the same team again. Tomorrow, I'd meet Raylan. Tomorrow, my mother's carefully constructed lies would begin to unravel, and I couldn't wait. The pediatric ward buzzed with activity as I stood at the nurse's station, my heart hammering. Braden squeezed my hand as a nurse with familiar dark hair approached. Can I help you? Raylan asked, and I nearly gasped at how much she looked like Mom's old photos. I'm Kylie, my voice trembled, and I think I'm your sister. The clipboard in her hands clattered to the floor. What? Maybe we could talk somewhere private, Braden suggested. Raylan led us to an empty break room, her hands shaking as she closed the door. How did you find me? I pulled out the old photograph of our pregnant mother. This is Krista, our mother. You were born in 1988. She sank into a chair, staring at the photo. I've been searching for years, but the records were sealed. I never thought... She looked up at me. Does she know you're here? No. Well, yes. She tried to stop me from coming. Raylan's face hardened. Of course she did. Wouldn't want her perfect life disturbed. You've tried to contact her before? I asked. 3 times. Each time she threatened legal action if I didn't stay away. Raylan's laugh was bitter. Funny how she had no problem giving me up, but suddenly gets protective of her privacy when I want answers. My phone buzzed. Mom again. I ignored it. Tell me everything, I said. Please. For the next hour, Raylyn shared her story. The loving adoptive parents who never hid the truth, the years of wondering, the painful rejections from our mother. The last time I tried was 5 years ago, she said. I had just had my first child. I thought maybe, being a mother herself, she'd understand. But she said if I contacted her again, she'd make sure I lost my job, my reputation, everything. That sounds like her, I whispered. She's been tormenting me for years because I can't have children. The irony. Can't have... Raylan's eyes widened. Oh God, is that why you found me? For revenge? Initially, maybe, I admitted. But sitting here, talking to you, I just want the truth to come out. All of it. My phone buzzed again. This time, I answered on speaker. Kylie, Mom's voice was frantic. Don't do this. You don't understand what's at stake. No, Mom, you don't understand. I'm sitting here with Raylan, my sister, your daughter, and we're done keeping your secrets. I'm having a family dinner this Sunday, Raylan said loudly. My kids would love to meet their grandmother. The line went dead. Think she'll come? Braden asked. I looked at Raylan, seeing my own determination mirrored in her face. Oh, she'll come, because if she doesn't, we're taking this story to every newspaper in the state. Sunday arrived with the weight of an approaching storm. Raylan's house was warm and inviting, filled with children's artwork and family photos. Her husband Marco greeted us with understanding eyes, while their 2 kids, Emma and Lucas, played in the backyard. The doorbell rang at exactly 2 o'clock. Ready? Raylan whispered. I nodded, watching her open the door. Mom stood there, perfectly coiffed as always, but her hands were shaking. Dad stood behind her, along with Nina and Lana. Well, Mom's voice was brittle. Shall we get this ambush over with? Please come in, Raylan said with forced politeness. My children are excited to meet their grandmother. Mom flinched as if slapped. We gathered in the living room, the tension thick enough to cut. Emma and Lucas bounded in, freezing at the sight of the strangers. Kids, Raylan said softly, this is your Aunt Kylie, and these are your grandparents. You had no right, Mom hissed at me. This was private family business. I am family, Raylan snapped, making the children jump. Or did you forget carrying me for 9 months? Marco, why don't you take the kids upstairs? I suggested. Once they were gone, I turned to Mom. Tell her the truth, about Thomas, about everything. Thomas, Raylan leaned forward. My father? He loved you, Dad spoke up, surprising everyone. He changed his will for you, set up a trust fund, but he died never knowing. Gerard, stop. Mom stood up, mascara starting to run. You don't understand. I was protecting everyone. Protecting everyone? Raylan's voice cracked. You gave me away without telling my father. Then you rejected me 3 times when I tried to find you. And now I learn you've been tormenting my sister about not having children? You're not protecting anyone. You're protecting yourself. I was young, Mom pleaded. Thomas's family would have been ruined. My family would have been ruined. So you ruined me instead? Raylan stood, pulling out a folder. Here's my medical history, by the way. Something I've been trying to give you for years. I have a genetic heart condition. Emma has it too. But you wouldn't know that because you were too busy protecting your reputation to care if your decisions might kill your grandchild. Mom collapsed back onto the couch, all color draining from her face. The truth always comes out, Mom, I said quietly. Always. What do you want from me? She whispered. I want you to look at what you've done, Raylan answered. Really look at the daughter you gave away, at the daughter you've been punishing for your own guilt, at the grandchildren you've never known. And I want you to live with it. The room fell silent except for Mom's quiet sobs, as 34 years of carefully constructed lies finally crumbled to dust. Emma's laughter echoed through Raylan's backyard as she chased bubbles with Lucas. Dad sat in his newly finished rocking chair on the porch, watching his grandchildren play. The heart specialist said Emma's responding well to the medication, Raylan told me, handing me a glass of lemonade. Thanks to the early diagnosis, she'll be fine. Mom still hasn't called? I asked, though I knew the answer. No. Lana says she's in therapy now, finally dealing with everything she buried. Raylan shrugged. Maybe someday she'll be ready to be part of this. But I'm done waiting for her permission to exist. Braden emerged from the house carrying a tray of cookies. He'd been spending more time here than at work lately, teaching Lucas how to build model airplanes and reading bedtime stories to Emma. Hey, he sat beside me, taking my hand. Did you tell them yet? I smiled, pulling out an envelope. We got approved. The adoption agency thinks we're perfect candidates. Raylan squealed, pulling me into a hug. You're going to be amazing parents. Actually, I looked at her, we were hoping you'd help us navigate the process. You know, from both sides of adoption. Of course, she wiped away tears, but only if you promise not to keep any secrets from your child. Never, Braden and I said together. Dad called from the porch, Kids, ice cream truck. As Emma and Lucas raced past us, I caught a glimpse of Nina's car pulling up. She'd been spending more time with Raylan, too, making up for lost years. You know what's funny? Raylan said, watching the kids beg Dad for money. Mom spent so much energy trying to create this perfect family image. But this? She gestured around us. This messy, complicated, honest family we've built? It's better than perfect. Speaking of honest, Braden squeezed my hand. The realtor called. The house 2 streets over from here is ours if we want it. I looked at my sister, the one Mom tried to erase, the one whose existence led me to redefine everything I thought about family. What do you think? Ready to be neighbors? Only if you're ready for Emma and Lucas to raid your fridge daily, she laughed. The ice cream truck's melody floated through the air as we joined our family on the porch. Dad was helping Emma count her change, while Nina taught Lucas a clapping game. No perfectly posed photos, no carefully maintained facades, just love in its purest form. Mom's secrets had nearly destroyed 2 generations, but in bringing those secrets to light, we'd built something stronger than she could have imagined, something real. And as I watched my husband help my niece unwrap her ice cream, I knew that the family we choose, the one we build with truth and acceptance, is the only kind worth having.